I revoke all false parasitic beliefs and thought patterns of enforcing external influencers, others' thought forms of their projected realities, their savagery, their programming, their agendas, their destruction, their fear, their influence from within, their mental and internal belief systems, structures, and their dominions, their lords, their creeds, their archetypes, their gods, their religions, their worships, their inner movements, their kingdoms, where they and those enforce and mesmerize, hypnotize, their projections and Babylonian and Mesopotamian illusions and magic through external cruelty, rituals, frequencies and harmonics within and upon my thoughts, my heart, my consciousness, my infinite creative power, entering into my inner sanctum as a parasitical element, feeding off of my creative power, my sacred masculine and sacred feminine abilities, creations, my realities, in which they attempt to manifest themselves in. I revoke all parasitical mental thought patterns that dominate and subject me into believing in them from their very inception of my existence throughout my life paths, their actions, their existence, where they parasitize on the judgment of my consciousness, to view their actions as they harm or attempt to harm all life, harm me, all humanity, all animal, all plant, all life on all versions of earth, all life in the sea, all life in the air, and all life in the ether, all terrestrial and extraterrestrial realms, all living, transient, elemental, their tyrannical lies and destruction. I hereby collapse and fold and dissolve into oblivion the mental thought program that parasitizes and uses my creative power against me and through me, using my weakness and to subject against me and to overpower me with beliefs in their mental ability to manifest and parasitize themselves and itself through the enforcing of their false beliefs, their terraforming energy to feed their existence and to fuel their catastrophic contracts, rituals, plans, and programs within my spirited infinite consciousness. I hereby make null and void and fold back into itself this parasitical construction of the mental thought pattern program that violates the natural laws of this universe, and install and replace and invoke within myself, within all, peace, love, balance, conscious awareness, heart-centeredness, care, nurture, harmony, and remembrance of the universal laws, with consciousness for the universal mind, which is Great Spirit within the law of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, communication, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Great Spirit as the multi-universe exists in perfect harmony, love, creation, and order by virtue of these laws made in existence with us, for us, and within us as we are within it. It is done. Hi everyone. I've decided to bring to you a new body of work, a new piece of information. And again, the information is based on the allegorical and metaphysical representation of what certain things are. Now, before I start, I'd like to explain why I'm saying this and also to welcome those who are new to this channel. For those who have perhaps been part of this channel for a little while, you have seen that the material is very specific in terms of a direction in which we are moving forward. And when I'm saying that it is specific, I'm saying that in this community that we are in right now, I want to say welcome, and for you to be, uh, please feel free to be part of this unique channel, this unique community, to bring across information from within the community itself as a uh, collective, individual, aware, infinite conscious group of people, of individuals, of beings. And why I'm saying this specifically is because if you need to go further back into the videos as such from the beginning, perhaps, you'll notice that the material is very much based on the principle of awareness that we are all Great Spirit, and that which we are within ourselves, we are also within this reality. And when I say that we are all Great Spirit, I'm saying that we as individual, unique beings are the body or the expansion of Great Spirit in itself. Great Spirit in plural, or as a good friend of mine says, Wakantanka. We are Wakantanka, and we communicate with Wakantanka, and Great Spirit communicates through us and expands through us in our growth. Now, today's message or information is the second part or the second hand that um, needs to be brought to light. And when I say when it's brought to light, I'm saying it is brought to awareness. When we observe something, we shed light onto it. And when we look at it and we dismantle it and see it for what it is, we are then able to revoke and clear that particular subjected contract reality of believing it to live all its main whatever it is exists on our energy. It full feeds off of our energy when we give belief to it. So that is called subjected reality. So we are working on this channel um, by bringing this particular information in so that we are able to remove that contract that we perhaps have been unconsciously or unbeknownst to us have agreed to give light to, which perhaps didn't need to have light in the first place. And when I say light, I'm not speaking of a polarized light. I'm not speaking of white light. I'm speaking about light as in the full spectrum of light, the full spectrum of energy that is in multiple layers and frequencies. So there is no polarization taking place. And when I speak about polarization, I have to bring to your attention, and I have to remind you that when I say polarization, I'm saying that sometimes some frequencies or entities or egregores, those are inanimated objects or elements such as organizations or cults or orders or lodges, are in itself an animated object because many people form that belief that that thing that they are in is then alive. And so that thing starts to have a life of its own. So, in other words, parliaments are the same thing. I think governments as well, governments very much so, can often um, represent that particular frequency as well, an egregorical um, frequency as such. And polarization is to operate from only one particular point of view. In other words, the one eye that they close, that is part of the polarization, where they are perhaps, and depending on which eye it is, I don't know if you've noticed that some, given how these cults or lodges or organizations operate, often try to signal to the other groups, perhaps through media and the mainstream, their polarization, whether they are masculine, um, which is solar cult, and or whether they are feminine, which is lunar cult. And I reference lunar cult and solar cult in this body of work. And I will explain to you what that means. But before I even start to tell you about what um, the lunar cult or the solar cult really is in detail, um, I would like to explain to you why I've chosen to create the title for this particular work. I called it Kaput Manus. Kaput Manus is Latin for the dismantling or destroying or the ending of a hand. Manus is hand in Latin. And the reason I chose to have that particular title is because this particular body of work suggests that we cannot just look at one particular hand, hidden hand at work. We must look at the entire body in which these two hands operate in. And the previous video, the Ouroboros video, and I will put it, it's the video right before this one. Um, references to you the solar cult. Now, I did not bring that particular information in, but this part does tie into that part. The solar cult in detail in terms of its functionality is normally a predominant masculine or patriarchal polarized uh, frequency, which means there is no space or place or any reference made to the feminine frequency that has to accompany it. And the universe is, or the universal structure that we exist in is masculine and feminine. We are, irrespective of our physical sex, we are masculine and feminine within ourselves. In other words, when I speak, I am expressing masculine energy. When I listen, I express feminine energy. When I look at the term electromagnetic energy, which is directly a strong energetic field that comes from within the heart of one's consciousness, which incorporates the insight, the third eye, as well as the crown chakra, and everything that is in the middle, when everything from the outside converges or connects into in the middle, that middle path is the infinite potential or the spirited consciousness when you have brought all of your faculties together in your thoughts. And when you are operating in a whole, or a whole meaning you lack no thing, nothing is needed for you to define yourself. That is the infinite conscious or spirited connection. Okay. The other two parts of this body, whether it's masculine or feminine, have their roles to play. But it is very important to understand that you cannot define yourself by only your left hand, or you cannot define yourself by only your right hand. You cannot define yourself for only your nose or your one eye or your eyebrow or anything like that. So therefore, that particular sight, that particular way of looking, the polarization in itself is part of a new age cult, or I'm calling it rather strongly a new age um, deception as such. It is a psyop. And when I reference to you what new age means, I'm going to I'm going to bring to your thoughts that the new age, I think a very good example is what um, the CIA wanted to do with Woodstock back in the day when all of the hippie people were, or the flower children, or however that it was known then in the 60s and perhaps even earlier, where a very strong force of drugs and alcohol was propagated. But then what the people had done was to re um, shift that frequency when it was deliberately created to bring all these people together so that on a political level they would ostracize and give up their individual rights to vote, and so be completely rebellious to the system, which would then create a group of miscreants, as that is also referenced in the material when I did some research on the hippie age, the hippie time. Now, not everyone allows themselves to be taken over or to be polarized by what it is that they're experiencing. But I am speaking about that which does come through in this reality as polarization, where it's 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 quite obvious if you look at how the emotional and mental intelligence is manipulated as well to bring through certain beliefs that it's okay to um, stand for this particular organization or that particular organization when in actual when they do the complete opposite, or they say that action that they commit is uh, for the group itself. A very good example is, and I can't really name the names because I can think that there's a lot of bots that are tracking these names as such, but um, there's a group like that in South Africa. Well, one of many groups where they are propagating that they are very much strongly for uh, Black First Land. That's what I'm going to call that. And the way that it operates is completely in conflict with their ethos, with their manifesto. Their manifesto is to bring through freedom for of the land, so that they could basically uh, have land in South Africa. But the methods and how it is done is by burning down universities, burning down schools, making an aggressive statement, um, and really pushing a very strong agenda in the background. They may not have been aware that they are doing perhaps unless they are, unless some of them are. I mean, they don't, they're too afraid to perhaps question the leader of that particular movement as such. And again, that political leader or the representation or the representative um, of that group is perhaps so angry that in his consciousness, he is driving the oppositional force of what he may have intended for the group to begin with, as such. And so that is polarization as well. When so if you're understanding now what I'm trying to explain to you, I won't be calling out international groups as such. I think we're all aware of who they are and where they are and how they operate, and that they are polarized. So now we look at that invisible, or that hidden hand that has been propagating itself through its own polarization and uh, fractalization, or fractaling of itself, splintering completely into millions and millions of little pieces and little groups, where they have been driving, perhaps initially in the beginning, to want to create a organization that is there for the betterment of mankind, for within themselves, to better oneself. I know that the Freemasonry and the Masonic lodges, originally the old school ones, the older ones, initially have this particular issue where they are struggling with the younger ones that come in, that try to change the way that they operate, and they want to shake it up and bring new stuff in, and it's not how the old school Freemasonry lodges, they don't want that. And I can see that it is a problem, because they are obviously from when this hidden hand really started splintering away from, um, how the hidden hand had perhaps been trying to redirect the emotional, mental, spiritual traffic to support them in their cause. And so also trying to then break away from the old lodge itself, the old lodge, which is based on the solar cult element. Okay, so we're looking at this hidden hand in terms of its actions, and then only when we be able to see its interaction in terms of where it is found, are we then able to see um, what it looks like and how fractured fractured it really is in terms of its existence as such. And yet it proclaims um, majority that it is very strong and very much active in today's society, even right now as we speak. Now, I need to also give you a little bit of a side note here. This particular work I've been researching, this specific hidden hand, I have been researching for years. And I have been able to see that now, after all of these other videos that we have done, the mantras as self, um, that the information has definitely been changed, has definitely been brought to light so that many can see these things. So, yes, definitely when this channel started, I would say this was our intention, was to bring complete uh, light to all things that have been in the dark, in the shadows, and hidden and twisted into our consciousness. And so while we listen to these mantras and these revocations that are being placed on in the video, in each video, um, as you have heard, we are individually in our unique abilities to exist as great spirit, able to free our consciousness from being subjected to their realities completely. And once we do that, once we are able to do that, and let's say there's only maybe 10 of us that are doing it, or even five, as such, we are making a big change, because we're doing it together in an and our intention is for that particular direction to go towards. And that is how powerful the energy is. It's not magic. It's got nothing to do with magic or anything like that. It really is about being aware of our sacred covenant with Great Spirit while we are experiencing our um, role, our place in this reality, and being aware that we are Great Spirit at any given moment of the day, even if you don't feel it every day, constantly, solidly. It doesn't matter. When there's a moment you have and you think, you know, we are making a change. As we speak, we are making a change. You can see the changes that are happening. It is quite profound. Now, to begin with the information that I have prepared to share with you, I do want to say to you that energy creates energy. And so when you are listening to this, the material is vast, it is very detailed, and I do want to prepare you that it will be long, and that if you find it hard to understand or to listen or to follow what I'm saying, please keep in mind that you can also stop it, of course, and listen to it again perhaps later. But on my website, I will have the information at hand much more in detail even then, and I will explain a little bit more of how I uh, find or bring these, what the foundation is of my findings and the references of where I found the material as such, as also this material has been with me for a very long, long time, like many years. And it is a privilege for me to bring only perhaps the first part of this um, hand to light, to our light, so that we are able to see and understand what it is, and then in such a way dismantle its malevolent influence within our human society as well as on our planet. I'm not saying this is going to happen in one day, but I actually wish it could. But I do say that this is where it is going to go towards eventually. Okay. Before I start, I'd like to give a small reference back to the previous video, the Ouroboros video. I'd like to just bring to your attention that the Ouroboros um, symbol was a pagan, and pagan means nature, a person who gives um, their life and their experience uh, in a belief way with nature. So, in other words, to be with nature itself. In other words, you are then venerating nature gods and that which is part of nature where there is life and death. So, you are in absolute awareness of life and death. The symbol, the Ouroboros, the snake devouring its tail, is a reference to nature, to life and death, and to eternity. So that symbol is eternal. It means it represents eternity. Okay. Two, it became apparent during my research during that particular entity, that energy, or that subject at hand, that the financial system, which consists of numerous little bodies, but I'm going to call it the financial system, had or has been operating with that symbol at hand. The problem is that symbol was then manipulated and changed into the dollar sign, which is the same snake, but its head is at the top and its tail is at the bottom with the two lines across it. This does not mean this is against that this is about the United States monetary system as such. Perhaps it wasn't understood in the previous video, but I'm hoping that this will give a little bit more light in why I brought that in. I'm speaking about the hidden hand, but I'm speaking about the other hand as well. So walk with me on this one. So when a snake is dismantled and taken apart and it's changed so that it becomes the dollar sign, it is initially coming from it used to represent peso, which was Spanish for a piece of. And dollar became well known for its power of buying a piece. When it lands in the hands of uh, the cults or the uh, visible hand, which is the financial industry, uh, they operate in the loss of when they pay for a piece of land. Your loss is what they really are paying for themselves. So they may give you a token or a fiat currency um, to exchange to buy the land, but you are now at a loss with this token. This is the token is what you consider then as your as what you would have received during that particular trade. But what they really are buying from you is your loss of the land. Do you understand? That is how they operate. And that is a type of chaos magic. And that chaos magic is called capitalism with a K. I hope this makes more sense. And I hope this gives a little bit more light to the previous video. Okay. That hand that has operated in that way, its visibility, it is visible. You can see it. You can see it in financial industries. You can see it in pharmaceutical industries. You can see it in every industry that you are looking at right now. That which is in your face all the time, that which makes you feel stressed when you think about it all the time, that hand is visible. You can see it. That is the visible hand. This hand is solar cult, or predominantly the hand that represents it, the New World Order in itself. It is laws, uh, industries, financial industries, the tech industries, every single thing. I think tech is a little bit more lunar. I'll get to that. Um, but I'm going to make it very apparent and very clear when I'm going to create in my channel. Um, I will create two lists where you can see solar cult dominated, um, and lunar cult dominated. And that which is not there is the middle, is the spirited consciousness awareness. And perhaps then you'll be able to understand that we are having to explain these three elements every time, whenever they are operating in their own polarization as such. We have to see that they have very visible roles that they play as well, and they take great pride in it as well. They love the camera, they love the media, they love to express a lot of themselves openly in this reality, through media as well, movies. um, Now, the lunar cult has not really been discussed in length. I do not see, I've looked around. I can see some people have touched on it. I'm not going to be calling out who they all are, but it is important for us to understand that we're going to be addressing the hidden hand, and the lunar cult is a hidden element. It is a hidden element that operates in the shadows. It operates at night or nighttime when you are not looking for it, in the background, where you cannot see it, where you're just barely visibly feeling it. And perhaps it is also related to um, certain beliefs that that people have been following through with. Now, remember, I said that the lunar cult is also uh, an element that is feminine. It is also uh, the representative of the New World Religion. Okay, so we have the New World Order and the New World Religion, two hands doing things, okay, doing bad things through exploitation, through hurting people. This plays itself out before us, as we can see and we can feel it. The lunar cult's also involved in, when I say the New World Religion, I am not speaking about religion as, it's funny how there's such a misunderstanding when you bring in religion, people think immediately Christianity. It's not just Christianity. It is a whole slew of things. There's Buddhism in it. It's there's a lot of that stuff in there. Religion. This I will show to you a diagram of what um, this particular element predominantly stands for, or what its foundation is made up of. It's a few things that may disturb some of us, but I do feel that if you're on this channel, if you're on this community, you're pretty sober. You have a sober mind, so you won't feel distressed about it as such. So, New World Religion. We need to understand that the New World Religion, that now that the solar called New World Order element has been dismantled through much work, much energy. Did I specify much energy from all of us and from those who may not be on this channel that we have all been working to try and dismantle that hand. And the only way we can dismantle it, that thing, is if we dismantle it within ourselves. Okay? And that is how it works. It is always going to work this way. It doesn't work in any other way. You cannot dismantle something physically because you are in this reality. It exists in this reality. Therefore, it is in your reality. Therefore, you must dismantle it within yourself. And that is how this channel works. This is how we are doing it. And when we dismantle ourselves, we then may sometimes notice how much power that thing perhaps had over us, or how much power we felt it was taking from us as such. Now, that is another side note there. Okay, so talking to you about sharing with you the information on the Lunar Cult, I am going to tell you what it's called. And I'm calling it, excuse me, I'm calling it the, so we have to think about it as a singular entity, but it is built up or made up of multiple, numerous bodies of work, bodies rather, elements, bodies. So it's a massive beast. I'm going to call it that, the beast with the millions of horns and the millions of eyes and the millions of heads. Okay. This is the time that we are going to unearth this beast for what it is. And during this uh, work that we're going to be discussing, that I'm going to be sharing with you, please be mindful that the energy comes through from you as it comes from me while I'm recording this video. Even if it's many months later and you listen to this, the same energy applies. We are operating within our higher spirited consciousness. Therefore, when we're talking about it, we are unearthing it and we are bringing it to light so that we can dismantle it and so that we can dismantle its control within ourselves. Okay, I needed to remind you of that. So every single thing that is being discussed in this body of work right now is going to be dismantled from within ourselves, including myself. Uh, it this lunar cult, this thing, this beast. I think I should just call it the beast. It is just it's just easier to explain than what it means. It is a thing of many beliefs, many, much focus on hermetics. Uh, Hermetics means something, means to do with that which is from within, that is being exposed. And its body of existence is called predominantly the ancient and sovereign Egyptian rite of Mitzrayim and Memphis. I'll say this again. The ancient and sovereign Egyptian rite of Mitzrayim and Memphis. It sounds like rather innocuous, doesn't it? But in actuality, it's quite a big monster that we're going to be looking at. And monster as in sample. Uh, okay, a big boy, or big girl rather. Okay, so what we must understand about this group is it's got a whole length of historical reference to how it started and where it came from and how long it's been existing and how many hundreds of little people changed its rules, and then they did this and then they did that. It's almost over 200 years of activity. But in actuality, what you're needing to look at, and this information will be on my website for you to peruse, is how many times they've changed their cloaks so that no one would be able to trace them. So in actuality, it might look as if it's chaos, but it's a controlled chaos which they have operated under. And the very first reference to this particular explanation in terms of what they did and perhaps allegorically how it was brought across was in the biblical reference of um, Jesus the man, Jeshua the man, not the Christos energy, but Jeshua the man who was betrayed by Judas when Judas represented the left hand. Exchange was paid silver, 30 pieces of silver, which I could say is perhaps 30 days in a month. You could look at that time uh, to betray Jeshua, the man. You are Jeshua. I am Jeshua. We are Jeshua or Jesus, however you want to call that name. The man. When we operate within a higher spirited consciousness, we then express Christos. Christos is spirited energy. In other words, it does not define itself that we're going to become performing miracles or walk on water, because I think people are also thinking that that was what it was, or turn the other cheek. It means that we are bringing things to light. So consider the information every day in your life when you go through something and you reason within yourself and you think, that doesn't make sense. I don't feel comfortable with that particular stuff or what they're doing. I don't want to wear that thing, for example. That is Christos energy. It is fiery, rebellious, and driven through the heart. Okay. So the ancient and sovereign, I'm reading it on the other screen here. So if I keep looking that way, it's because I'm reading their information for you. It's vast. It's a lot of stuff. So we know that Jeshua, the man, was betrayed by Judas, and it was for coin. The solar cult, banking industry, the capitalist or organization or cult, capital cult. I like that. That sounds good. That covers all of them. Uh, has betrayed the man who is infinite consciousness, the man had who has lost through the betrayal of a kiss, which is a kiss is connection or meeting you face to face, sitting in a place while they come and they uh, take your car back to the bank. That is a kiss. That is that's a bad kiss. So that is, for example, that. Okay. So now, how powerful are these people, and what do they want, and what's their agenda, rather? Well, obviously, I don't think I need to explain to you very much what their agenda is. I mean, we can see what they're doing. They're definitely redefining the laws, or they're trying to rewrite the laws of the universe. They are also. This is why we needed to bring the laws of this universe back into action again. We had to action it into life when we spoke about the laws a while ago. And if you need to look at the previous videos, I will post that link in there as well about the natural laws, which we must understand is now alive. It's now reignited or brought into life. And this is why these things are coming out in the surface now as we speak. So what does this cult do? How long have they been alive? How long have they been going, doing their thing? Well, I can tell you that they've been here probably for long before human consciousness was seeded on this planet, in this plane, perhaps. And I do want to bring to your attention that I know that they have definitely come, that they are predominantly Orion. So again, my very much hammered anvil uh, is Orion. Orion. Okay, Orion Zion. I keep calling that. So let me start by saying to you that this cult existed. I need to look at the dates because I don't remember the dates so well, and I feel it's important to explain to you exactly uh, when they functioned, when they existed as such. Okay, so I have the link of this website, which gives you a lot of information on their activities as such. But I will explain to you that this particular group called, well, the creator of the Egyptian Freemasonry of Egyptian Rite, and this is a quote which will be in my work for you to peruse from this site, was the Count Alexander of Cagliostro in 1749. That was when he was born in Tunisia. He was he does not associate himself with someone who is called Giuseppe Balsamo. I don't know why they put that in there, but that's just, to me, that is just that's redirecting the train of thought. So when you look at their sites, I must give you a heads up. When you look at their stuff, you go into the links that I've provided on the site, please be mindful that they talk almost serpent-like, because you don't really get to what they're trying to say to you. So they drivel a lot. There's a lot of drivel going on. So in actuality, I just needed to tell you that Alexander of Cagliostro is the one that really initiated the Egyptian Freemasonry. That's it. And he had a few people with him doing this thing. In very importantly, for those who are aware of the Illuminatists' um, history, I do want to bring to your attention that this particular foundation, this right of the sovereign Egyptian right of Mizraim, uh, it is important that we must see that Alexander of Cagliostro was brought a few other gentlemen in to this thing, which was then the foundation of the Illuminati order, which was in 1776. Terrible. It's such a sad thing that there's so much negative crap attached to that particular year. Nonetheless, we are cleaning the garden. And so during this foundation of the Illuminati order, uh, there were six, okay, there were six people involved. Adam Weishaupt, von Knigge, which is a German dude, Goethe, who is a philosopher, and Herder, who I don't know about, and in secret, Benjamin Franklin and Cagliostro himself. The person that wrote this material on this particular website, I'm assuming, is part of that particular order. So again, keep in mind that they write very serpent-like. I mean, they don't get to the point of what it is that they're saying. They're speaking in circles. Right. So this is the foundation of the Illuminati order. Uh, then, a year or two later, in 1810, it started to change. More people started to come in. They went to Italy, they went to France, and then by then they had already then become quite busy and um, involved in their order. I do want to say this, though, that from Freemasonry order as such has only got 33 degrees in terms of their ascending in their growth. But this group, this particular one, the foundation itself, has got 99, but apparently now it's 100. Um, so who knows why 100 is needed, but I suppose it has to do with all of the hundreds of um, uh, little bodies that keep popping up all over the place. So in other words, they are really making sure that they get into everything, every single thing. They can get their little fingers in, they are in. Okay. They've since then stopped being part of the Masonry order, but they do say that they do acknowledge the Freemasons, but they're not exactly too. I can see from the material and how they are writing that they are not exactly too thrilled to be too close to the Freemasons themselves. Now, again, remember I said the Freemasons are the solar cult, um, uh, or solar lodge, and this group here is the lunar lodge or lunar cult, and I call it a lunar cult as a body of reference, as such, a collective, to put it like that. So, okay, and so many years later, gosh, you'll see. I will put into place for you to see uh, how many times they've changed their cloaks. Uh, Almost every year, um, there's been a massive range of since 1782 and going on 1796, then this happened, then 1801, then this happened, then 1839, then this happened, then 1849, this happened, and then in 1856, this happened, as you can see. I am not going to be reading each and every one of those things. It's like a hell of a lot of stuff. But you can see where they were involved in Germany as well, and how they strongly were trying to infiltrate the Germany as per se with regards to the war, the First World War, and they were very much the motivators for the war in Germany. So let it be known that the information in terms of the Germans and the Jewish people, that was founded radically by these people itself. So you can see, and I will highlight that, what they actually did. It's some, but they kept doing this whole bringing this thing in under the foundations of sociological and psychosomatic influences. Okay, hypnosis, mesmer was also one of them. Can you believe that? Right. So now you've got that in your mind, and you can understand now how vast and how big they are, and they have been going full on, full on everywhere in the world. So they are literally everywhere. It's like a disease. Had they been doing good things, would have can you imagine where how amazing things would have been had they been doing positive things? And I'm not saying everyone in this movement are even aware that um, um, things of their history and how things are. I'm not throwing rocks even at them. I'm not judging them as such, but I am saying that lunar cult has been predominantly extremely much more busy, just as busy as the solar cults have been. The solar cults also have had their faction infights and their splintering off as well. So really, we are looking at the root of everything, the roots of both polarities. Before I go on about the Masonic people, I think I've actually kind of explained to you now, more or less, that we must look at two particular factions, two two points of or two elements in that particular order itself. The solar cult, the the Mithraim group, or the Memphis Mithraim one. Okay. Um, in that group itself, another group started to form as well. And in 1902, this is very important, which I felt was important to highlight in this work. Theodore Roos, I think, delivered a another part of the group to and was also the teacher of Aleister Crowley. So out of that, the Order Temple Orientis came out as well, the OTO in short. So as you can see, there's a lot of little groups that have been springing forward, springing out of this massive body of or element as such. It has grown many, many little heads, so to speak. And I do feel very strongly, I think this is relevant to really that which is in Revelations as well. I am just taking a long shot here by saying my opinion is that that is what really the beast was all about. And when it is coming out of the water, it does represent, it does quite substantially say that perhaps someone had the vision of this particular beast coming out of the water as such, and not so much that it ties into the political, but the roots of the political and governmental and internationally the global um, elements as such. So, the right of Memphis Misraim, I think that's from the right of Memphis Misraim became feminine, and they referred to it as the mother of Osiris as well. So they've brought in very strongly a very deep foundation of Egyptian mythology into their movement, their motivation as such. Eventually, they started fighting with each other, and they broke apart again. So um, there's so many names that are tied into this group. It's too many to mention. I will give you a very concise sort of diagram for you to peruse when you do go onto the website as such. I do suggest that you do, if you are very interested in looking at the nitty gritty of the whole thing as such. I'm very interested myself in the details. But keep in foresight that we are discussing the root of the hidden hand and how we are dismantling, and the many details that we bring into this conversation is the many details that we are exposing in this reality, which we will be seeing now after this video has been launched. So the OTO, or the Ordo Templi Orientalis, or the Order of the Enlightened Knights, OCI, was founded in March 2003 by this person who wrote this website article called Frank G. Rappel or Repel. Please forgive me if I don't pronounce the names correctly. It's not the names that really is my strongest point, but the work in what they are doing as such. So the Egyptian Freemasonry of ancient and primitive rite of Memphis and Misraim is structured as well, where they now have a 100th degree grand general hierophant. And that is very important, that we must understand that this particular person is, they say on here, or international head of the entire organization as such, who is Frank G. Rappel. Okay. So you can see it's still as active as in 2003. I mean, the latest information that I found was during 2012 as well. And I do want to explain to you this. This is the next part of this body of work, is what they use to operate their machine is something that is called the Arcana Arcanorum, or the AA. Okay. That is very important. That's their mechanism. That's their tool, their engine, the battery of this machine that they use. Okay. It means, and this is quoted from another site, which I will also add the link in, that is it says, the occult societies of Europe were a body of knowledge known as the Arcana Arcanorum. So it's a body of knowledge, which is a battery, I'm calling that, And this term comes from the Rosicrucians, or the uh, Rosy Cross, which is also a Christianity-based, or perhaps Orthodox, uh, in reference. Please forgive me, I have not really gone into the Rosicrucians as such, but I do think if you really want to go and dig into this, you'll find out what they are. They are also just another uh, fraction of the um, Catholicism, where they've also broken away from. Uh, and they use, according to this man in his website, uh, he took this term from the original Rosicrucians of the 17th century, but his corpus consisted of descriptions of magical practices that stressed internal alchemy. So it goes, Cagliostro had learned these tantric techniques from the German Rosicrucian lodges. Okay, so we know magic is what they use, and they are pretty potent in their magic because we can see how things have become, which means they are the ones that are really driving everything as such. Excuse me. So we must be aware that the Arcana Arcanorum is the mechanism by which the work and the rituals have been performed with magic. Okay? Call it anything else if you like. These are the mechanics that fuel the entire machine itself. Now, coincidentally, while I'm saying uh, machine, I'm also referencing to a novel that was written by War of the Machines, I think, or the Machine. And that movie, I think, references this particular information as such, where you can see there are two oppositional forces at each other. One is predominantly feminine, and the other one is more masculine, and you can see that as well. That was a deliberate um, display of power for the mundane, which is what they call us. Um, anyway, so moving along, what is their core function and what do they want to do? So with the Arcana Arcanorum, they also suggest that on another site, that it is important for them to dismantle the control that they have by subjecting humanity to allow to sit back so that control can take place. That's basically what it is. So to render the mundane useless, to, in other words, resistance is futile type of thing. They want us to not resist. They want us to be giving up because they are flooding the entire system, the intellectual societies as well, education systems, um, psychological societies, things that are for the mind, things that are for the soul. So uh, they are flooding that with their energy, their influence as such, and they want you to give up, to let some being take control for you, so that you do not ever think deeper into your conscious self as such. So in other words, their main agenda is to really bring a sense of give up because there's a little God that's going to save you. His name is whatever, and it is going to save you from your demise against yourself. And therefore, it violates your individual right to exist as infinite consciousness within this plane or this reality as we speak. Now, the Arcanorum also, when I looked to see what the word actually means in itself, um, is a very interesting summary of what it is described as. It means, uh, I'll find it here to tell you. According to the dictionaries in the wiki, the word arcanum refers to secrets of the great secret. Okay, Boy, the word arcanorum, refers to the secret of secrets. And the secret of secrets, or the abbreviation with the 3 points forming the triangle following the initials, is typical of esoteric societies. So they've stamped this as this is a society. So A, and then the 3 little dots, which you'll see, is considered the ultimate level of initiation. Initiatic societies is what they call themselves. Again, it is hermetic, um, and which means they use the archetype of the hermit and the hierophant in their work, which are archetypal to what they possess and what they've confined. And believe me, I've looked everywhere to get a very deeper understanding of what the hermit really is all about. And so far, all I can see is that it's tied up to the type of mystic that functions in the moonlight, where it does things at night or in secret, so that no one knows what he or she does. So obviously, if you've got a lot to hide, you do things at night. We don't hide anything on this channel. We just bring it all out, one shot. And it may be very direct for some, but it is how we function in this channel as such. So along with this particular initiatic reference, the A triple dot A is what I'm going to call it. Funny enough, it sounds like Alcoholics Anonymous as well, but that's just my, immediate Occam's razor thought. They also have founded the Golden Dawn, and in Latin, Arcanum Arcanorum, Secret of Secrets, or in Hebrew, Arik Anpin, Vast Countenance, or in English, Angel and Abyss. Interesting. So they use their motto, their motto, if you go deeper into this, is the method of science and the method of science, the aim of religion. A triple dot is the one true and invisible order which has operated under various names and guises throughout history to guide the spiritual evolution of humanity. Okay, do you see how much power they have associated themselves with, that they are running the spiritual reality? Okay, and this is why they are coming up very strongly to be dismantled, because we are initially taking control over our own spirituality. And in much later in this channel, in the progress, I will be bringing information in on what spirituality really is. And for those who may have known or been on here for much longer time, you have already grasped the sense. And I will just refresh that information again for those who are new and who may not have had the time or the space at hand to have been able to see what it's all about um, as such. Now, what's very important is also this, and this is again quoted from their site. Every legitimate magical order, mystery school, religion, or any other agency disseminating some portion of wisdom or light is or has been but an outer vehicle of this inner fellowship of light, which is polarization, okay? The Arcana Arcanorum is an elite rite. Let me say this again. The Arcana Arcanorum is an elite rite that goes back to Atlantis. It is the highest of rites, and its purpose is to give offspring in a superhuman state. You must possess a special DNA to join, end quote. How's that for in your face? Right there. Okay. I don't need to tell you to go back to the fall of Atlantis, which is how we started with this work on my channel. Please refer back to that video, read it up, listen to it again, and you will see where we're going with this. And lastly, they've also incorporated something which has been, I think, for as long as I've remembered myself, for many, many years, an element that is called itself Saint Germain, which was founded by a person whose name was Le Comte de Saint Germain in 1700s. Not such a good chap to have or to even think about. And why you've probably noticed in my work that I do not reference any particular archetypal uh, things such as that, because these things have all been created by one other bigger thing, which are not organic, they are artificial. Anything that is created to make something change is an artificial artifice, in my consideration, personally, my personal opinion. Um, if you feel that guides have been assisting you throughout your life path, then I say test them out. Test the capacity of their power in terms of the heart energy. And again, I can tell you, you will find the truth that you have been seeking. But fair enough, there is no judgment on this channel either. So if you feel that they have been assisting you, then that is where your journey has taken you. And you will grow even more in your consciousness as such, irrespective of what I am saying. This is your journey. So, the Saint Germain, on this person's notes, he makes it very clear that he considers himself as the cosmic father of the United States of America. That's quite extreme. In since 1700, and calls and reference itself as the aristocratic fraternity exclusively for first class members. There's the elite thing going again. These members were well established and highly distinguished. And I'm reading to you a quote from that site. I will say, quote here in my work. Uh, they write here, these members were well established and highly distinguished gentlemen and ladies of a well-to-do society. The Order of Saint Germain has retained its mystic teachings of the angelic realms, which they gladly reference from the Holy Bible in their brackets here, which John Dee was also part of, ancient system of wisdom of Tehuti, who is Hermes. I cannot believe that they've dragged Hermes in, but they have, which is how you can see what we're going to be working with. Is we are literally going to be dismantling all of these archetypes that come up. We're basically taking away the ammunition to cause the damage that they've been doing. Maybe we're doing them a favor as well. I do think that there might be people in there that have been feeling trapped and they've not been able to come out of this thing because of all of the many, many contracts that they've been sealed into or grafted into that rotten tree as such. And then using the ancient Freemasonry prior to the Seven Crusade wars and the Kabbalah of the Tetragrammaton, the order has attracted very much I don't know, Martins, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and like members past and current from the impeccable standard in society. Now, for the first time in history, I'm reading this to you from the website. This society is being introduced to the New World, the United States of America, whereby this prestigious mystic circle and exclusive order shall admit men and women of all of distinction, those accomplished in science, government, law, medicine, and politics for the advancement of North America and other respectable countries. Current locations of the order can be found in the following countries: Israel, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Serbia, and now the United States. Can you see the power of these people that they just assume that they have over the people of the United States, let alone everywhere else in the world, which I know that they are here in South Africa, but because they consider South Africa as sub-Sahara, does not warrant its name to be put in their um, directory. Anyway, I'm glad that we're the misfits of the planet, because we are such misfits and we don't fit in as well as we should be with each other and with generally the consensus of the order, the New World Order itself. We are able to find more order within ourselves. So that's just a commentary on that, on South Africa, not Sub-Sahara, not Africa, South Africa, the Republic of South Africa. Let it be known for those of this order who are perusing my channel that we see you. So there you go. What stands out for me more than anything else is their insignia, their symbol that they have on their many, many lodges, their many, many, many little heads that are all over the place. And the symbol in itself is quite interesting, if I can explain it to you, just for reference. So when you look at the image right now, and you'll see it as I'm describing it to you, on the outside of the image is the Ouroboros, the snake that swallows its tail, the serpent. Need I say more? I've told you what it means. If you've forgotten, please go back further into the video and you will find that information. Or go to the previous one that I've made before this on the Ouroboros. The second point to note are the stars, which represent the lodges. And so it will differ as you research this, and you'll see that the amount of stars or the many of the stars are differing. So I do assume, or not assume, I do know that I can understand that these are references to the multiple lodges or bodies that are active at any given time. And when I say bodies, I'm talking about the people that are active at any time. Big issue coming up now, the upside down egg. That just really gets to me, which means it tells me that they've deliberately inverted the egg, which is not the right side up. The right side up is the smaller part at the top and the bigger part at the bottom, and that is the shape of the universe in itself. I did speak about this. Please go back to the video on the Titans, because there I explained to you what the new Aeon in energy is an egg. I actually had an experience where I've seen this myself, so I speak as first-hand information. This does not come from anywhere else. This is where the information is coming from, this channel. And the egg is upside down on their symbol. Inversion, in other words, false information, inverting and changing the information constantly. And they keep believing that if there's many of them that can actually change this universe in that state, then that is why they can keep on doing what they're doing. Now, the right side of the egg is supposed to be the other way around. They've also incorporated Mercury, which are the wings on the side of the egg, which means through inverted language, Mercury, the mercurial wings, and the wings of Mercury, which is also forming part of the medical society, uh, is language. Bullshit baffles brains. There, that's the simple term of it. And we will we will dismantle these archetypes such as Mercury also eventually in much later as we go along. Um, what is inside of the egg is probably the more important thing also to observe, as we can see that there are many factors that are related to the Freemasonry tracing board, such as the compass, um, the beehive, which is predominantly brotherhoods related. Uh, I can't remember what they are called. I know there are there's Templars in there. I can see the little hammer, which is law, judgment, government, the little government symbol, as you can see as well. So now you can see that they are all bringing that in with the Metatronic cube, or what they would then refer to as the um, Jewish cross, but it is not the Jewish cross, or sorry, the star, to put it like that. And then there's also Christianity, which is also the representation of the actual cross itself, which, bringing it all together, that symbol in the middle with the eye is a Metatronic cube. I've discussed this prior, and it is in a previous video of mine where I explained to you that Metatron is an artificial element that is created, which is magnetic and artificial by nature. And that is a type of program, or not a program, that is, one could say, that was a computer that once upon a time we used to to assist in the changes of the planet back in the day. This is probably the third version of Earth that we're functioning in right now. And the Metatronic Cube was initially used as a tool to assist in the magnetic frequency of the planet. It did not represent, or was not uh, glorified as any particular entity that was a good thing, or a good omen, or a bad omen as such. It was merely a tool, just as the instrument that I'm talking to you from is merely a tool that I am using to share with you. And that is what the Metatronic cube was initially about. What they've done is they've turned it into an egregore, they've personified it, and that they've given it a spiritual presence so that it becomes a type of guide. And so it goes. Now, I have to give you this thought as well. Um, this group has created a group called the Lodge Logia Masonica Propaganda. That's what they've called it. Lodge 1, P1, Propaganda. The Grand Master has created the Masonic Lodge called Propaganda. There were, it has been functioning quite strongly for a very, very long time. It is current as we speak. It is still active. It does call itself, or it does say that they have, well, they have a manifesto, which I will post on my um, website. Please have a look at what they do and what they say. Um, I don't know how long it will be there, so download it if you really are that interested to save that piece of material. I have downloaded it myself because I have a feeling that after we've discussed this, I do think that they could probably gonna retract themselves, perhaps. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is, they have a proclamation that they say that they are the real order of the Illuminati, and that they are the representatives of the order of the Enlightened Knights. And their agenda, if you scroll all the way down, please be mindful that they speak in circles. Again, they even reference information on Trump and Putin. They call that as the political level of the axis T and P, and that they have been disrupting um, uh, what they consider the New World Order, which is in actuality telling you that they are fighting with the Solar Lodge as such. The Lunar Lodge is fighting with the Solar Lodge. So you'll have movies and things coming out where there's a battle between male and female, or red and blue as per usual, or blue and or fire and ice. Okay, where they, according to themselves, are in extreme um, existence, or in extreme extremities. Okay, so there's no middle ground with them. They are either fire or they are ice. They're not balanced. Um, and also that they have their fingers in the social, economical forms of government, which are in which they refer to as the spirit and the body. So they've personified everything into spirit, which is what makes them even more dangerous, um, and which is basically what they're trying to imply is that they are wanting for the future of humanity, which is socialist and they want for the future of humanity a socialist aristocracy. They call that the perfect society. It is composed of peaceful individuals who have no brains to think for themselves, and that there are no acts of violence of any kind because everybody owns everything. Okay, which means you own nothing. All right. These are the perpetrators that we are bringing to the surface, um, but we can't just take them as for what they are in themselves. We must look at the entire monster for what it is, or the entire beast in itself. The uh, fact that they are very proudly telling everyone that they are the real New World Order, which is the New World Order religion. And so keep in mind of all the information and all the latest groupies that have been coming up and sharing their new age guru stuff. Okay, please be careful. And love and light, seriously, their motto is this: they want people to be joyful. Okay, you must be happy not to have anything. Okay, you must be joyful that you don't have anything. They have a, a symbol here which they say is X. The X, they want you to have your hands open and your feet wide apart, so you have to be in the X. That is how they write it here on this thing. This will be on my site. Please have a look. It's very interesting. They also consider themselves as a Masonic nation, as a republic. So they are already putting themselves separate from us. They consider themselves as a republic. So we essentially have a uh, position of power that operates itself as a sovereign state. How bizarre and interesting is that? I mean, you have to marvel at the capacity of their arrogance and their process of their where they're driving towards. Another thing that's also very interesting is I'm just reading to you snippets from what I can see on the page itself. Is uh, they say that the Masonic nation represents the socialist society. The socialist society represents the fixity of matter. Okay, the fixity of matter is the building block for materialism. Materialism means worship your reality. Forget about your soul. We'll control that for you. Okay. The society is expressed through the movement known as Singaria. Singaria? That's the word sounds very, anyway, suspect. Sangaria, Sangaria, God, I don't know if I'm spelling it right, is the heir of the renovation of the new age. It is the new vein, okay? Vein, except they're writing it as vein, okay? I'm saying it's vein. Uh, Sangaria is to honor life with songs and dance. It is to speak of love. So here we have the new age hippie lifestyle. Okay? Don't take any responsibility for yourself. Be drugged up, lie there on the street, and be happy. Okay? Sangaria is the joy of living, the pleasure of the body, the pleasure of the spirit, pleasure of the body. It is the artistic breeze, colors, flavors, the rainbow colors of the flag, which they've inverted. Dance, music, parties, poetry, so we know. Children of Sangaria. That's bizarre. I'll actually look into this thing a little bit deeper. The Masonic nation and the aristocracy. Okay. Masonic nation represents the aristocracy. The aristocracy is loyalty. Okay. Listen to how warped this is. Loyalty to the principles of everything being, and it's manifestation. The demonstration translates into the realization of earthly things for the welfare of individuals. So again, worship the universe, worship your reality around you. Okay, don't think for yourself. Just pray to your money, pray to your food, pray to everything. Just be joyous and happy and love. Okay, these are degraded. This anyway. Then they have this, which is quite interesting. I found this quite interesting. The Masonic Nation represents the aristocracy. As I've said, the demonstration translates in the realization of earthly things for the welfare of individuals who must seize and cultivate in themselves the aristocratic motto, which is this: the transformation in human beings will be implemented by extending three concepts of essential nature: meritocracy, hierarchy, loyalty. Every one of them must be perceived in each individual as life-giving nature, since the realization in man of these three concepts generates the primary concept of freedom. The Masonic Nation represents magic. It's written here. The Masonic Nation represents magic. The magic is represented by the Memphis, Egyptian Freemasonry of the ancient and primitive rite of Memphis and Mizraim, and by OCI, Order of the Enlightened Knights, by Draconian Cult, Dynasty, and Ecclesiastic Gnostica Spiritualis Universalis. You get this? It's dangerous stuff. The only true religion which they are propagating, okay? And remember that their lodge is called propaganda, okay? P1. Historic Christianity is based on the image of suffering and death, and that Jesus hung on the cross. He embodies the creed of the assumption of holiness through suffering, that is, through the bad. In other words, they just decide that it's bad. Uh, I'm not saying suffering is bad, it's not good, it's good or anything like that, but I am saying that you have to learn through your mistakes, not so. Don't betray yourself, and you won't hang on the cross. They have something here they called, it's their God. I'm going to be bringing in this little piece for you. They have something called Gnostic Christianity, on the other hand, is based on the image of happiness and life. Jano, Jano, Yano, with arms and legs open in the form of X. No, it's masculine now. He embodies the creed of the assumption of divinity through the joy that is through the good. So if you have your hands wide open and your legs wide apart, then what does that mean other than to say, please, ladies and gentlemen, do things to me where I can't control, where I cannot protect myself? Be happy and dignify yourselves through the joy. This is the new creed of the new true religion. The science of our days. We have to wonder if there's still real scientists these days. Blah, 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 blah. Science is nothing but a perversion. Okay, so they are just whatever. Then this, the last part of their manifesto is this. The person, remember, who is the highest of the international of this order, Ripple, the Ripplean thought is based on a fundamental premise. The man is God in embryo, and as such, he has the possibility, the ability, the right, and the duty to express his own divinity. Otherwise, it's just a worm that sinks in his mud. Anyway, I'm not going to go into much deeper about that, but because it's pretty much left in its own thing. It does, however, sign off and say, if you all want to be part of it, they call themselves, they say, please contact us at Orion at onenet.it. Orion at onenet.it. Please don't join or investigated any deeper. We've already discussed and cleared the information as such for what it is. This is just an excerpt part of P1, Lodge 1, P1. Please be mindful. Okay, this is the beast that we're dealing with. This is what we are dismantling as we speak. Thank you, everyone. We'll speak again. Bye. What I do want to bring to you is this in terms of going towards the closing of this material. The New Age, back to the New Age and its New World Religion propaganda or agenda, rather. The New Age Hermetic Order has utilized or has worked very strongly with the lunar magic, which is, or the lunar cult, lunar lodge, which is feminine. In other words, they've hijacked or they've attempted to hijack the feminine principles of everything that is alive on this planet. In other words, if something hijacks your feminine principle, your feminine frequency inside of you, it means that not only does it try to control your soul, but it also tries to attempt to make you hijack yourself. In other words, stop functioning and stop connecting to your internal side. And I have explained this before, and I will bring it up again and say to you that the soul is feminine. Higher, the higher self or great spirit, which is within you, is seated within this vehicle, which is either masculine or feminine in physical matter. And that which is the driver of this vehicle in this reality is the soul or the anima mundi. Okay? It is feminine. It is feminine because it observes and sees and experiences information from in front of it, from around you, in your immediate surroundings and around you, and your higher self or your um, your spirit as such is the operator of this entire vehicle in itself, which is neither masculine and neither female. It is balanced androgynous elemental frequency, which is how Red Spirit speaks to us. Okay, don't forget this at all. One day I will discuss this perhaps more in detail so that we get a bigger understanding or a feel for the seriousness of this vehicle and how powerful it really is and how we must look after it just as we do exercises every day. We are meant to do that as well. So what I do want to leave with you is this. In the current, as we say right now, there is on this site something that we must be aware of, that a particular lodge that stands out, which tells me that it's been the one that's been propagating this whole terminology of the word wokeism. Wokeism. It's a new word. I've seen there's a lot of these new little words that have been coming out. It is hermetic in nature, which means it is also using ministry of magic or mom to fuel its potency. Let me explain this to you before I tell you what it is that I want to bring up. And I've jumped here. Apologies for that. But I do want to just share with you this. In a summary, the New World Order is a collective entity or is an ideology that is formed from a collective entity which is solar, lodge or solar cult, masculine or patriarchal, driven by Egyptian masonry, and it operates as a collective. Then we have the New World Religion, and it is a lunar cult or lunar lodge, and it is feminine, which is probably the worst, and it is driven by Hermetic Masonry. Okay, as a collective, its ideology is New World Order religion. Okay, oneism, or everything that is universal, so you don't have a chance to stand out. You don't have infinite consciousness. You're completely part of the the wave. Okay. What I did forget to add to you was the other information on that symbol itself, and that means it dominates the sea. I'll go back to the symbol and I'll show you again. I need you to understand that symbol is that hand. It is a representation of that hidden hand. It uses dominance over the sea. The sea, as I've said to you before, is feminine. It is communication. Water, speaking in the, is water. Communication is water. The sea of people. People are also referenced as the sea. Okay, so as you can see, that is what that symbol dominates, or what they've wanted to dominate. Okay, now I'm going towards the closing of this material, and I want you to understand this very, very much. Very, very important to understand. These guys are not just little people, they are a big beast that seems to try and dominate every aspect that is related to soul and spirituality. It can be a lot, and I can see quite a lot that are coming up into my mind, which are telling me you need to be careful what you're listening to. You need to be careful what you give light to. You need to be very mindful that when you listen to something, that you feel that you are still able to formulate your own thoughts while you are listening or giving light to. So a big telltale thing to look at is, how do you feel after you've listened to this work, for example? And how do you feel if you've listened to the others that are extremely popular and very mainstream? Like, do you feel hypnotized by them? Do they make you feel happy, but you can't remember anything they said? Which I know is definitely a big telltale sign of brainwashing as such, or hypnosis. And if my work has made you feel all kinds of emotions and made you wonder and think and question and feel angry and upset, and you've literally been feeling the same stuff as I have, then you know that you've not been hypnotized, you've been woken up. And so I do want to leave the information with you, and we will be clearing up more of this beast. We will be dismantling it in chunks as it is revealed to us. And so it is. The information that comes on this channel is unique, as I've said, and I will leave it with you to remember always that in this community is where this information comes from. All of us, each and every one of you that are part of this channel, that are part of a living community, which is organic in its nature, which is infinite conscious, unique to yourself as a thumbprint, where you have unique abilities that make you who you are. We all represent Great Spirit, and we are all proceeding forward and going towards the changes that we are dismantling within ourselves. And that is the only way that we are able to be free from these controlling mechanisms, is to free ourselves from within ourselves. We have other people that are the ones that are doing the physical hard work, including ourselves, that are working towards adding a change in this reality. We are all doing our part in this change. I do want to also leave this with you at the end, that I am going to create another, that I've created another channel, which will be based on the occult of South Africa itself. I've called it Occult ZA. If you are interested in following the work of the occult information on South Africa, there is no other channel like this about South Africa and about the occult that is taking place here. Um, Please feel free and please be welcome to sign up or follow. Um, I do want to also leave this with you that the material will, I am still looking for a channel that could be, well, where is any channel secure really, other than to download all my videos, download them if you can, because we're going into deeper territory now and I suspect that it's good to have some background, have some videos at hand. Uh, Also, there's actually I'm going to advertise this. There, it's called Internet Download Manager. Find it. It's free for the first 30 days. It downloads like Flash, anything and everything you want. Um, so keep that in mind. I will put the link at the bottom. Um, and thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. And I am grateful to be part of your journey with us. We are all doing this together. And I wish you a very good day, night, rest well, look after yourselves. And remember that if you want to be free from a particular control that is dominating in your environment, in your society, that you free yourself from that control within yourself. That is the way to go about this. This is what we are supposed to do. If I want to bring healing to the world, I must be able to have healed that already within myself. So I'm sending you much love and support for the growth. And FYI, for those who have not noticed, we are definitely gaining some very substantial ground as we speak in terms of the reality change. We are now perhaps 7 days in the new reality which we have been created. We have created this reality. And this reality that we have created was one that would reveal everything, all things, all lies. Much love.